Now I said we can use SQL to do so many things. We have different we call them languages, syntaxes, we have different functions, we have clauses, we have statements. So we have the data query language. Now we use SQL for querying a database. We call those um, statements we use for querying, we call it data query language. And we use the select statement for querying. We have the DDL, that is the data definition language. We use them for creating, to alter, and to drop column. You understand? So under the DDL, under the data definition language, that's where we have create, alter, drop. Now we have another, we call it data manipulation language. Now this data manipulation language, we use them for manipulating our data. An example, we have the inserts, we have updates, we have deletes. The next one, we have data control language. And here we have, under the data control language, that is where we have our grant statement and the revoke statement. So which means if I'm using my select statement, it means I'm querying something. That's a data query language in SQL. So that is about that. Now, last class, we talk about how to alter column. Now, we continue from there. As you can see, if you look at our database, our database, our database is currently in master. Can you see master? And the database we are using is tutorial. So we have to change it. To change that, what we'll just do is say use tutorial. Use tutorial. So we run this. We run this. We execute. Good, completed. Now you can see that this database has changed from master, it is now what? Tutorial. So which means we are now under the database, under database tutorial. And that's where our data is. Our table is, and table we are using is our international student test score. So today, in our last class, we talked about how to drop column, how to alter table. But today, we'll be talking about I'll be adding a new table. And aside from that, I'll add a new column in the table. And aside from that, I'll add data to the table. So that's one of the that is one of those things we can do in SQL. So can we do that? So we use the alter statement. So alter table, international student score. International student test score. Okay. So we want to add a column. So let's name it email. Add email. So our email, the voucher. Let's say voucher 30. So let's run this. Okay, before we run that, let me call our data first. Let us query our data. So we use select top 10. I want to view only the first 10 rows of the data. So select top 10. So select all from international student test score. So let's run this first and see. Let's say our data. Okay, good. Oh, I've added email. So, okay, let me drop. Now we have ID, we have country, we have first name, last name, country code, test score, and email. Okay, let me drop the email. I'll be dropping the email. I'll drop the email. So to drop the email, just use drop email. What's it saying? We're having error. Okay. Alter international student test score. Then we are dropping our the table. It's a table. We are dropping this. So let's drop this. Let's drop this column. Oh, I'm having error. International. Sorry. Sorry for that. Okay. Good. It has been dropped. So let's query this again. Let's print. I want to query this our data again. So let's query the data again. And which means we want to select the first thing from our international test score. Let's select it. So our email has been dropped. Can you see? Our email has been dropped. So now we want to add a new column. We want to add the email back. So we just have to use alter table, international student test score, add email. Email. So the email will be a voucher, which means email consists of you can have full stop, we can have comma, we can have underscore, at, you understand like that. So it's not a char, it's a voucher. So we use voucher for it. Assume it's an ordinary name, assume it's first name, you expect it to be char, because why would you have your name and you'll be having underscore in your first name? So it's not as if you're told to write a full name, just first name, then you're having underscore in your name. Understand? So if it is email, we use a voucher for it. So let's run this. Good. So we've automatically added a new, so let's print it again. Select top 10. We are selecting all from international student test score. So good. Now we have email. Now our email is null. How can we update our email? So we use our update. So we just say that update email, update, update, want to update this, then set email to equals to let's say abcd at me.com. So I want to set our email to be abcd at me.com. So where ID is greater than 1, is greater than or greater than or equals to 1. Good. Now look at this. We want to set our email to equals to this, where our ID is greater than or equals to 1. So whenever only this email to all the data, only this email to all the data. So let's see if we are not having any error. Let's run this. Good, it has been added successfully. So let's print everything. Select all, this star represents all. Select all from international score. Good. So let's print this. Now, can you see we have email, we have this ABCD, 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 ABCD. So That's Thomas drop column email as usual, just the way we dropped it before we started earlier. Now, the next thing is aggregate functions. So when you're doing it aggregate functions, we have different aggregate functions. I said it that we have there's difference between a statement, a clause, and a function. There are different things. So we have aggregate function. We have different aggregate functions. We have so many of them. We have AVG, we have count big, we have grouping, we have grouping ID, we have max, we have main, we have standard, we have VAR, the variance, we have the counts, we have a lot of them like that. So I need to make us understand that your SQL database differs. Now, SQL, Microsoft SQL Server, it is Transact SQL. So in case they may ask you that which SQL did you know? So this is a Transact SQL. We have others. What you use here, there are some syntaxes or there are some statements you write here. If you write them in other SQL server, it may not work because they have their own different syntax. So some people uses MySQL, IBM DB2. Now there are some code. I do write SQL code on IBM DB2. That is a cloud database. And I'll tell you that there are some code that works here that doesn't work there. Understand? So this is a Transact SQL and it is very popular. They use it a lot. So when you know this very well and you are interested in moving to other SQL database, you want to learn. It's not only Microsoft SQL server that uses Transact SQL. We have other this thing that also uses the Transact SQL. You understand? So when you when they are being asked that which SQL did you know? So it is a Transact. We are dealing with Transact SQL. Okay, let's continue. Now here, for this, starting from this place, before we'll be able to move on to our aggregate function, I would love to teach us on how to import our data. So we need to know how to import data. What if we have a data that we want to use and you want to import them? How do you do that? How do you do that? It's very easy. So I have a data already, which I'll be importing. You don't forget that you can use SQL Server to query a very huge data, not even a very huge data. Huge data, I mean data consisting of 10,000 rows, 15,000 rows, doesn't, and it should be very fast. So, okay, let's import. So you click on this place where my mouse is, click on it. So here I have different server, I have different databases on my, this is companies, this is company, this is new sales, this is registration, this is sales, and this is tutorial. But where I want to import my data into is under this database tutorial. So you just click on database tutorial, click on it once, then you right click. When you right click, you go to task. From task, you move to import flat file. Now, since I want to import, my data is in CSV format. So import flat file, and you click on next. So you browse on your computer to choose where your data is. Let me see, where is this data? I'm coming. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Okay. 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 Okay, this is the data here. So can you see? So we need to rename them. So let me rename it to employee so that I won't be having any problem when calling data. Let me just leave it as employee. 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 So that will be my database name. Then click on next. If you see my screen, I don't think so. Okay, I'm coming. Okay, so this is what it will show. Can you see? Let me go back to previous. So you write your table name. You can just name it as employee. Then you move on to next. Move on to next. Then after that, look at this is the first 50 rows of our data, consisting of ID, first name, other names, due, date of birth, job titles, department, full time. Can you see? So you can just click on next. Okay, modify columns. Now you look at it very well. My ID, I want it to be my primary key. So you just click on it. I want it to be my primary key. So first name is in voucher. Can you see? Other names, date of birth is date. So it will recognize that as date. Job titles, NVAL. Can you see? This is typical hours. That is tiny int. That's an integer. Then we have annual sales, which is a float, which means it can consist of decimal. We have hourly rate, which is also a what? Float. I think we are good to go. So next, then click on finish. Oh, we're having error. Why is the error? Let's see. Okay, let's go back. I think there's a problem with one of my data. Tiny int. Let me just change it to float. Just change this to float. Typical as. But let me change it to big int. Okay. So let's see if it will be. I'm still having error. What's wrong? There's something wrong with the data. The given value type string from the data cannot be converted to small int of the specified target column. Oh God. Okay. Let's see. Just choose float for this. And this ID also. This should be int. Okay, let's see. Okay, good. I think it's our ID. It's our ID. So successful. So you just have to close it. So back to our screen. So I'll be opening a new sheet for it. So let's start. We have aggregate function. Aggregate function. So I said if you want to comment in SQL, you use, see that you come here, can you see? Just right, click on comment this, so it will comment on it, or you can just use, you select your data that you want to comment, then you use Control K, Control C. Can you see? Control K, Control C. So that's how to comment.